We're joined by board member Michael Miller. Mr. Miller, one of the big ticket items for tonight's meeting was about the North Charleston Center for Advanced Studies plan. Still holding off right now. One of the topics within the topic is understanding what is going to be recommended, what the board might consider approving. Do you feel like there's a way to explain what is being looked at based on what was voted on in 2014 and the plans that have been recommended to the district, or recommended by the district to the board?
Well, my understanding is in 2014, the board put together a referendum of capital projects. In that list, there was supposed to be a Center for Advanced Studies built in North Charleston to serve the students of North Charleston. I remember distinctly that in that process that the word Garrett was in parentheses, at least in one of the documents that I received. I don't know if it was actually written that way on the referendum, but it was to encapsulate Garrett. It was my understanding that the school would be built on the Garrett campus. Right now, we're in a holding pattern, if you want to call it that. We've had 3 committee members who represent North Charleston. I've already met with some community folks to talk about the future of the location of the Center for Advanced Studies, where it will go, and what it will look like as it pertains to serving the students in North Charleston. Right now, we tabled it again today because the committee wanted another opportunity to meet. So in the first week of November, they'll come back to us with a recommendation from that committee as to where we will go and what that will look like. We're currently trying to figure out exactly if it will be a program or a standalone school. If it is a program, it'd have to be attached to a freestanding school, either Stahl or North Charleston, or it could be created its own school. I think that's for hopefully some folks in the community to really figure out and vet that through. Funding then becomes an issue if it's a standalone school all by itself.
This is an issue that has so many layers. How hard is it for you guys as a board to explain this to the public? And do you think that's why this North Charleston Advisory Committee, this North Charleston CS Advisory Committee is so critical?
Well, I think it helps us to get the word out about the conversations around what the community wants as it pertains to the referendum itself. I think oftentimes a referendum can be a little murky. Just because it says building of a school, it doesn't mean that we can buy additional property to build that school. So although one might assume that price might be embedded within those numbers. So in this case, that's not the case. We have property throughout our district that we can use, so we don't have to purchase any property to do that. But it does help reaching out to the community. It does help for clarity purposes, where we're going, how we plan on getting there, and what are the strategies used. Right now, the committee is still kind of in the air about where the school should be located. There's no disagreement that the North Charleston area needs a Center for Advanced Studies. We will have some conversation about what kind of programs will go at the center, obviously. We can figure that out a little down the road. We don't need to have that right now, but we do need to really figure out exactly where the school will be located and will it be a program and how it will be funded. Funded in the sense of program is not funding in the sense of building the school.
And then finally, looking at the Top 2 initiative that goes into how students from around our county go into Academic Magnet. Top 2 sounds catchy, but there's an intent behind it. Can you go into the detail about the intent and the execution and why the board approved it tonight?
Well, I believe that the intent was, after years of looking at some of the enrollment data over at Academic Magnet, there seemed to be a void of diversity on the campus. But yet, around our district, we have students who graduate valedictorian and salutatorian going on to great colleges. So the question started to become, well, why aren't students who have African American descent, why aren't they attending Academic Magnet? What's the reason? Is it because they choose not to go? Is it because it maybe wasn't offered in middle school? Maybe they took the test and didn't get in, we don't know. So about a year or so ago, we came up with an idea to, in a fair, sensible way, provide diversity at Academic Magnet by allowing the top 2 8th graders in every middle school direct placement into the school. With that being said, those students, if they're top 2, they're already academically strong. But of course, they also had to take the same test that any other student would take to get in. It wasn't a gauntlet knighting of any such, but they still had to take the test in an attempt to address some vacancies we saw embedded within the school. knowing that we have students across the district of all ethnic backgrounds that are capable of getting in, but for some reason we're not attending the school.
And one more question on that topic. Why is it important to include in this initiative the support to be provided in the summertime in case those students that do qualify, but they might not hit that 13 score mark, still get that support they need?
You know, it's interesting. MUSC does the exact same thing with their medical students. When the students get into school, if they're having some struggling or about to get in, there's a level of support there because they understand the importance of having students do well. I mean, we don't want this to be a I gotcha or set children up for failure, but we want to make sure that the children who are applying to get in have the skill set to not only get in, but have the wherewithal to stay in. And if there's any time during their process that they seem to be struggling or need support, we capture that. This process does it on the front end, not on the back end. So what we're doing now is identifying students who may be a smidgen or a hair away from really getting in, working with them during the summer with some of our educators across the district, and then having those educators, after they take a look at their growth and development during the summer program, if they seem that they're ready to become an active part of the academic magnet student enrollment, we want to give them that opportunity.